This is going to be a new moon in Aquarius. Pick a card reading if it's meant for you. It's meant for you. We're going to take a look at the energies for this upcoming new moon. I'm really curious to know in the comments how you're feeling, because I know there's been a lot of restless energy lately. You know, almost this feeling of anticipation or that change is happening. And the way I'm channeling this right now is that it's not just happening, it's here. Change is here. Now, this is a time for manifestation because new moons are all about new beginnings. Sometimes I feel like it takes more energy out of us on a new moon than it does a full moon, because that energy gaining momentum makes us really tired and exhausted. You know, the brain might be going a million miles an hour. And the reason I say that is because right now we're in Aquarius season. Thoughts, communication, you know, thinking about the future. And it's such beautiful energy because we want to envision our future. Now, ultimately, we can't live in the future. As I always say, we can't live in the past either. We can visit it. We have to be in the now. So what are we changing right now in the present moment to get us to where we want to be in the future? So astrologically, we do have some interesting aspects. You know, we have the Sun and Pluto who are in Aquarius, so that means major change. I mean, Pluto in Aquarius is basically the next 20 years, right? So nothing is going to change overnight necessarily, but again, change is happening. At the same time, change is here. We're in the process of arrival, basically. So, you know, with this Sun, Moon, square Uranus, you know, we've got unexpected breakthroughs, unexpected changes. Basically, expect the unexpected. Yes, there could be some chaos, but this is not saying that everything's going to be bad or you have to worry about this energy. It just means that change is happening whether you want it to or not. Okay, this energy is basically challenging us, you know, challenging what we know and helping us get through what may be holding us back. You know, here's a couple confessions of a tarot card reader that I've come across in the last couple weeks or so. And that is, you have to be aware of your walls. And the reason I'm saying walls is because sometimes we think we're putting up boundaries when in fact we're putting up walls. You know, boundaries are absolutely necessary in our daily life. We have to be able to say no. We have to be able to put ourselves first, and that's wonderful. However, be careful if you're really in the mind space of walls, but calling it boundaries, because the walls mean, you know what, I'm going to protect myself. I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm going to say no to everything because, well, I have boundaries. But boundaries doesn't mean that you stop living. It means that you put yourself out there in other aspects. You spark new energy, you do new things. So again, I would just be very careful with how you're defining the word boundaries, because I'm noticing that maybe some of you might be putting up walls instead. And when you have walls that are up, it's very hard to get through them if you're not willing to climb or to push through. Okay, so that's the first observation. Another observation that I've been making lately is be careful that you're not making changes and then staying stagnant. Yes, enjoy the moment after making a major change in your life, but at the same time, make sure that you continue onwards and upwards. It's almost like, you know, diet and exercise as an example. You know, we have some success, we see a breakthrough, and then all of a sudden we go, you know, I can have that meal, I can have that drink, I can have that dessert. And then all of a sudden we say, yeah, I've earned it. I can now coast a little bit. And then we find ourselves reverting back to old ways. Now, of course, we're human, but I want to remind you that once you make a change, yes, enjoy it. But then remember that we're lifelong learners and that we must continue and go to new heights, right? Those tests, those lessons, they never end. And I know they can be exhausting, but if we want to have our best self and the most growth, we've always got to continue onwards and upwards. And as a side note to that concept, you know, just be careful that you're not displacing old energy into new things, thinking that these are new experiences. And let me explain if I can. You know, sometimes we struggle with making boundaries or changes, right? And then we do them, we achieve a certain level, and then all of a sudden we start putting the same walls, funny that we're talking about walls earlier, walls up, but in new situations. So we don't associate it that it's the same lesson as before. We think because maybe it's new people or new places or whatever, that it's totally different, when in reality, the underlying issue is still the same. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to articulate that in a way that makes sense, but it's something that I have been processing for the last couple weeks now. So let me know if that resonates. But what I'm asking for you during this time of the new moon in Aquarius is to keep an open mind, truly open. I think a lot of us think we're open, but that would be then perceived openness, because again, the wall comes up to stop us from really having the things that we want because we're afraid. So I would just say you want to be more aware of what you don't want, or ask yourself, what are you settling for? It's really important now to be open to the changes, to envision the future that you want, and to essentially choose yourself. It's not selfish to choose yourself. I think that's something that people feel very guilty about. I remember a line that was given to me many years ago when I was struggling with boundaries, and somebody said to me, only you can make yourself feel guilty. And I cringe hearing that, because at the time it really got to me. I felt so guilty for making those boundaries. But I recognize now in retrospect how important it is to choose myself. I can choose to feel guilty. Or I can just say, you know what, it is what it is, and do what I got to do. And the people who are with me are with me. So anyways, I hope that resonates with you. I have 3 decks in front of me. I have 3 new decks. I've ordered many recently, so I'm excited to use them all with you. If you are choosing deck number 1, basically that is the Inner Child Oracle. So you might be dealing with some inner childhood wounds, okay? The second deck here in the middle is called the Divine Energy Oracle. So this deck has some statements just written on the card, as in like bold statements that sort of, make a point, I guess you could say. And then here, the deck number 3, we have messages from the spirits of nature. So whatever one you resonate with, many times I find that people watch all 3, or they watch 2, or choose the one that you resonate with most. So please let me know in the comments what card or deck you've chosen. But what I'm going to do is start with deck number 1, which is Inner Child Oracle. I'll put these other decks to the side, and we will get to them in a moment. So let's take a look at what are the overall themes for deck number 1. We'll take 3 cards and have a look. This says, get lost. Fall deep into the realm of imagination. See, this is what I said earlier. What do you envision for yourself in the future? What creative juices do you have flowing right now? I love that beautiful chandelier. Gorgeous imagery in this deck. Let's see what else. You know the way. Trust your intuition on this journey. Number 44. Angels are with you. What a beautiful, beautiful message to start. And we have let go of the past. This is my point. You can visit the past. You can't live there. This says, it is time to envision a new story. That is exactly the word that I was using, envision. So I have actually never pulled cards from this deck. This is the very first time that I'm doing it. So, wow, very powerful messages to start. Okay, so the tarot deck that I'm going to be using is the Heaven and Earth Tarot. I have not used this deck in ages. I took it out the other day from a box that had been packed away, and I like this deck because it has really beautiful imagery, but also I was thinking about as above, so below, right? Heaven and earth. How we feel about ourselves on the inside gets reflected on the outside, right? So what we're going to do for this new moon in Aquarius energy is we're going to take a look at what may be going on in your headspace, your heart space, and spiritually. Okay, so we know the overall themes for deck number 1. Let's see what's going on in your headspace. and we have judgment. Very interesting. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here for a moment, because this card, yes, is a wake-up call. It's a transformation. It's heeding the call, maybe news coming in. But why do I have the sense, because we're talking about inner child oracle, why do I have the sense that some of you dealt with a lot of judgment when you were a child? You felt judged. You felt misunderstood. And I think where I'm going with this is, are you in the old or are you in the new? Are you in the old story of how people used to see you? Or are you in the story of new, where you're growing, you're expanding, you're shifting in all the best of ways? I think sometimes what's really hard is that we live up to an expectation of how other people see us because, well, it's easier. It's very hard to change people's minds, especially if they've known you for a very long time in a particular energy, or they're judging you from when you were a teenager. I mean, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. And I see this, a lot because I was a high school teacher for so long, and I used to see students come into my room and they had nothing to lose by living up to an expectation of negative things that other people saw in them. But I always ask the question, like, would you want to be judged for who you were at 14, 15, 16, 17? My goodness. We're human, right? We make mistakes and we learn. But those monumental years, they really shape us in regards to our relationships and the way we live our lives as adults. So when I do readings with people, we often get into what happened at this age or that age in child development or the teenage years. But essentially in your headspace right now, this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call. The horn is sounding. This is a number 20 card, which is 1010. And if that's an angel number you're seeing, it could be important to you. There's the Chariot, onwards and upwards. It's time to make some moves. In your mind, you've got to do something. And the Seven of Swords is telling you that you have to live your authentic truth. What I love about this particular card, the first thing I was drawn to was looking at these two swords right here. Now, if I was to look at the Two of Swords as a card, that would be making a decision. Are you in the old? Are you in the new? What's your decision? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? But the Seven of Swords can be about deception or betrayal or wearing a mask, where something's just not right. And so I would just say, if you are holding yourself back out of fear, it makes a lot of sense. This also reminds me of what I was saying earlier in the opening about walls and boundaries. Sometimes we deceive ourselves, right? We don't want to get through the wall. We don't want to get over the mountain, whatever it is. We want to keep ourselves safe out of fear, right? Now with that, we have here the King of Wands, and this is about purpose and passion. And look at that fire and that lion that's ready. I love the sun right behind the King energy here. How gorgeous. So essentially, this is like, we're going to burn that old narrative. We're going to let it all go. It doesn't matter anymore. Let's look at the heart space and see what we need to know about what's going on here in the heart. Eight of Cups, walking away from things that no longer serve you. It's time. It's hard to let go in the heart space, of course, naturally. And there you go. It's time to live your authentic truth. The Ace of Swords, truth, clarity, aha moments, epiphanies, something coming to light. The Moon, there's your new moon in Aquarius. A lot of emotions are running high right now. Temperance, patience, forgiveness. What is it that you need to forgive yourself for? Is there something from childhood that you need to address and forgive? Someone else or yourself? This is also alchemy, blending the old and the new. I'm so excited to be doing my Alchemist book talk coming up starting February 15th. We're going to do 4 Zoom classes on Thursday nights, breaking down the themes and Spirituality of the Alchemist, one of my favorite books of all time. If you'd like to join me for that, the link is in my bio. But we're going to blend the old with the new so we can have a better future. That's how I look at alchemy. Okay. Now, this can be a card of reconciliation, but I will say to you, you've got to be very careful with that energy, because you have to ask, what are you willing to accept and what are you not willing to accept? I mentioned that earlier. What are you settling for just to be in your comfort zone? And let's take a look spiritually, what you can expect with this new moon. There's the Strength card. There's that Lion again, that Leo energy. You know, spiritually, you're trying to find your strength and your courage to move yourself forward. And how beautiful. There's abundance here. Celebration. You know, the Three of Cups is a really beautiful card. It is. When I see three people in a card, I do think two's company, three's a crowd. If there is interference in your life, you've got to have the strength and the courage to make those boundaries. That's how important it is. And there's the Six of Pentacles, my favorite. Equal giving and receiving and balance. If things are not balanced, it's not serving you. If you don't feel balanced, how will you attract balance in another person, even if it's a relationship? And there we go. There is the Four of Swords, which is about healing. Interesting. The importance of rest. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Healing Heart Oracle card here just to give you some last guidance. Hopeful heart. An exciting surprise is coming your way. And this is interesting because I was saying earlier, as above, so below, you know, it's like tree roots almost, right? You don't see the roots underground. You don't see how it reflects above ground. And I want you to have hope. And that Judgment card does say something exciting is coming in. So I love that energy for you. I really appreciate you listening to deck number 1. Please let me know in the comments if it resonated with you. And we're going to now move to deck number 2. So I'm going to take these cards away and I'm going to put them back in, shuffle things up, and take a look at the overall themes for the Divine Energy Oracle. Now, this deck is the Divine Energy Oracle by Sonia Choquette. And when I saw her name, the first thing that came to my mind was like shocking, you know, as in like these messages are, you know, kind of boldly written on the cards. And I was kind of drawn to see what would come out today. So let's take a look for deck number 2. What are the overall themes and messages? There's that Heart of Gold. I love it. Do something different. If you want different, you have to do different. Okay. Love it. Heart of Gold is such a sign for me. Claim your art. I love that. What are you passionate about? What do you love to do that you stopped doing because life got in the way? I always ask that. I love passion projects. You probably heard me mention it a million times. And be open to, this is my point. Oh, I love when I do these readings, honestly, because I said this in the opening. I talked about openness. Are you open? Truly open? Or is it just perceived openness? Did you put up a wall? You know, masking that as a boundary. There's the Eiffel Tower. That might be a symbol for you of some sort. Interesting. Her name is Sonia Choquette en français. I was a French teacher. I love French history. That's one of my things that I geek out on. But yeah, the Eiffel Tower, La Tour Eiffel. Maybe that's a sign for you. Okay. Like I did in reading number 1, we're going to take a look at the head space, the heart space, and what's going on spiritually for you. So let's shuffle this back up and see. Sometimes some of the same cards come out. Let's see what's going on in your headspace. Okay. This is the Five of Cups. What are you grieving? What are you sad about? And what are you disappointed in? There's something there that's sad for you. There's the Chariot, came out in the other reading. I think you know that you have to move forward, but you're scared to do it. I think that's the issue. Your new life is going to cost you your old life. And there's the Eight of Wands, and this card says swiftness. Okay? This is manifestation, shooting your shot, seeing where the arrows land, not trying to control the outcome. You've got to take a shot. Interesting. The Princess of Swords. You have to be more logical and decisive. You have to decide. I almost feel like I'm needing to tell you, you have to decide to let go of that grief. Now, grief is a very difficult beast. I'm seeing this even in my own experiences after losing my father, watching the grief in my mother, and talking to many people who've gone through grief. If you've struggled with it yourself, you know it's not easy to let go of something. And here's the thing, I always think about the 5 stages of grief, right? And we often apply that to, you know, the loss, the physical loss of someone. But I also apply the 5 stages of grieving to a relationship or a friendship. You know, there's the disbelief, you know, there's like that shock, you know, speaking of shock, you know, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, the acceptance. How do you get to acceptance? Like, there comes a point where you have to decide to live again, you know, to feel again, to love again, you know, to be again. So let's take a look at the heart space here. The Hierophant, commitment. How beautiful. How committed are you? Are you thinking about commitment? Is this about a relationship? Here's the thing. The Three of Wands has 2 meanings to it, essentially. One is saying we don't chase, we only attract. You know, this is like waiting for the ships to come in. That's after you shoot your shot and then you see what comes back to you, right? And the other side of this is that you're sitting on the sidelines saying, I'll do this tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Now, I'm not saying go chase a relationship, because whenever I say, are you sitting on the sidelines, I don't mean go chase the relationship and try to force it. But if there's something artistic, professional, personal that you want to work on, don't sit on the sidelines. You want to start a business, start taking the steps. You want to start a project, start taking the steps. You want to grow in your learning, take the steps. See, do something different. And we have here the Empress, creativity. There's something with art. Some of you may be very artistic, whether that's poetry or music or painting or dance. It could be anything, designing, you know, interior design, marketing, whatever it is. The Empress is about being creative and birthing a whole new cycle. And what I find very interesting is that we have a 3 and a 3, 33. 5, 5. Big changes ahead. Tower moments. And there's the Emperor making power moves. Are you ready? Calm, cool, collected, methodical steps. Same thing with the Hierophant. The Hierophant doesn't do anything rushed. That's Taurus energy. You are not going to push a Taurus to do anything. If it's their idea, different story. But you're not going to push them to do it any quicker. Okay, spiritually, let's take a look at what's going on. The Fool, you're embarking on a brand new journey. The Fool is trusting and taking a leap of faith. Oh, card went. Yeah, there we go. The Ace of Cups. Look at the overflowing cup here. Putting yourself first, choosing yourself. Love it. That's what I was saying in the beginning. Choose yourself. Choose yourself. Don't lose yourself. There you go. Ace of Swords, clarity and truth. We had this in the other reading as well. Look at these new beginnings. I mean, a lot of cards here that really do say new beginnings. The Empress is birthing a whole new cycle. 2 aces here. New emotional beginnings. New aha moments, epiphanies. Shooting your shot. Being a fool. Taking the methodical steps and making those power moves. Again, you're here to play chess, not checkers. Letting go of the oppression, the burdens. It's time. This is mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally exhausted. Aren't you tired of that energy? Of whatever's holding you back? I believe that you are. Okay, let's take a last guidance here from the Healing Heart Oracle. Grieving heart. What did I say at the very beginning? Open doors to something new. Be open. Something new. Do something different. You want different, you have to do different. It's interesting. Number 13. I believe number 13 is lucky. It's my lucky number. Beautiful. Okay. Let me know in the comments how you felt about this reading. Did it resonate? And I'm going to put these cards to the side. And then we are going to shuffle all over again for deck number 3. And see what we need to know. Okay. Let's take a look. This is now messages from the spirits of nature. Let's take a look at the overall messages for deck number 3. Tobacco. Reciprocity. Equal giving and receiving, and balance. Number 44, wind, movement. Are you ready to make some moves? Are you ready to go with the wind? Funny, a couple weeks ago or so, I was channeling the song, She's Like the Wind. Eagle. What is your vision? Number 13. Funny, I just said that number 13 was my lucky number in deck number 2. How beautiful. What vision do you have for the future? What moves do you want to make? Do you have equal giving and receiving in your life? Super important to ask yourself. Okay, so just like deck number 1 and deck number 2, we're going to take a look at the head space, the heart space, and what's going on spiritually. Let's see what cards come out here. So interesting. I was seeing a lot of 10s in the other readings as well. You know, I don't know if I made that observation, but another 10. I did say that actually. In the first reading, we had Judgment, which is, you know, number 20, which was XX 1010. So the 10 of Swords is, you couldn't have any more swords in your back kind of vibe. It's like you got to let a cycle end. You know, in deck number 2, we had the 10 of Wands, which is mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally exhausted. Another ending of a cycle, putting down the burdens or the oppression. So there are some connections here. And, oh, love. How beautiful is this card? This is the 2 of Cups. Love it. Now, here's the thing. This could go either way. Obviously, we're going to pull more cards in a minute. You might have to end a relationship because you know it's time, even though it's difficult. You might have to let go of something in order to have this love. You might be getting in your own way. Because the other reading, we talked about being open to love. Truly open. Well, You have a decision to make. Are you in the old? Are you in the new? We talked about this in deck number 1. This says peace on it. What brings you peace? You know, how do we achieve peace? Well, boundaries, making decisions, movement, having vision, envisioning. That's been the word really today. There's the Tower. Something has to fall in order for things to get better. And I think some people are fighting that shift. And like I said earlier, change is inevitable. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. Change is happening. Change is here. So let's take a look at the heart space. The 7 of Swords. I saw this card earlier. 7 of Swords. Are you living your authentic truth? Have you been betrayed? Has there been deception? Is somebody wearing a mask? Are you wearing a mask? And I was reminded of this in the other deck, that I saw those 2 swords right away. And what are those 2 swords? A decision. This is the 10 of Pentacles. Now it's funny, we've had the 10 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, the 10 of Pentacles. I don't believe we've seen the 10 of Cups yet, but we're getting these 10s, right? Ending of cycles. But 10 of Pentacles is wealth. It's tangible fulfillment. What's getting in the way? It's almost like when I look at this man here looking backwards, it's like looking at the wealth. Got to put down those swords. Got to stop living the facade, or got to stop ignoring or avoiding or sweeping things under the rug. And let's see. There's heartbreak and sadness. There's sorrow. I think somebody feels betrayed. As if their abundance is taken away. In all 3 readings, we've had the Chariot. There you go. All systems go. This is telling you to move on from. It's almost like somebody is feeling in lack as well. Like they don't have the abundance, or they don't have the wealth. And it's funny because it's like, how do you change that? You know, how do you change that lack, or that feeling of lack? Because it all depends on how you grew up. What were the approaches to money in your family? I was very lucky that I had parents that were manifestors without even realizing how much they were manifestors. You know, they didn't live in lack, even when they didn't have money. I don't know how they did it. I mean, I'm not suggesting that anybody go spend their money foolishly. By no means do I think that. But at the same time, if you're worried that it's not going to work out for you, or nothing ever works out for you, you will continue that pattern. Money is an energy exchange. So it's almost like there's a need to move on from this lack, this deception. This could even be just seeing things the way you want to see them, whether it's right or it's wrong. You see it the way you see it, and you don't want to hear it. That could be too. And with that, we have, there's the 3 of Cups. Again, had it in the other reading, 3-3. We saw 3-3 in the other reading as well. So 10-10, 3-3, 44. You know, you can have the abundance, but again, if there's interference, as in like 2's company, 3's a crowd, you've got to address that as well. There's the Emperor, again, making power moves. Spiritually, you've got to celebrate your abundance, believe in your abundance, make the moves that are going to bring you abundance. Don't make lateral moves that are going to do nothing for you. You're not here to go left, right. You're not here to go backwards. You're here to make power moves. You're here to play chess, not checkers. There's the Sun. There's the confirmation, the yes card, the happiest card in the deck. There's the Empress. Again, funny, we have the Emperor and the Empress, divine union. Another number 3, right? 333. I feel like this reading is really about letting go of some old things so that you can have new stability, reciprocity, equal giving and receiving. The Emperor and the Empress, and look what's in between them is the Sun. The Yes card, saying yes, celebrating, believing that you can have it. That is absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's get the Healing Heart Oracle to see what else we need to know. See, betrayed heart. I said that earlier. It says, risk opening up to life and love. If you let go of that lack and that heartbreak, you move on from it. Guess what you're going to get? You're going to get the celebration and the Emperor and the Empress and this sunshine and this yes and this forward motion and all the things that you didn't think were possible. It just depends on your perspective. Well, I really hope this resonates with you. Let me know in the comments what you thought about number 3. If you've been here this entire time watching deck 1, 2, and 3, thank you very much. Please let me know how you're feeling. Again, if you'd like to join me for the Alchemist Book Talk, the link is in my bio. We are starting February 15th. Super excited to talk about the themes of that book. It's life-changing. It changed my life, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. If you'd like to do a personal reading with me, absolutely happy to do so. Link is in my bio. Again, thank you very much, and I wish you an amazing new moon in Aquarius.